also like to say, Happy Errol Barrow Day. Now, this evening we have a very varied card of speakers. My name is Irene Sandiford-Garner, by the way. And the last time I spoke in St. John was probably about 10 years ago. Or probably before that. 20, more than 10 years ago. But I am pleased to be here. I love to be in the country. I love the breeze. I like the energy that we get. Last night was an excellent precursor for tonight. We had a cricket match not far from here on the pasture, and it was electric energy in terms of people fraternizing and everybody social, very good energy. And I would wish that tonight we have the same good energy. This is the culmination of a weekend of activities celebrating the birthday of the founding father of our party. And I can safely say that the members are out. They are out. We are having viewership in the couple thousands, and we're having attendance from our members, our rank and file, who are making their presence felt, and we're grateful for that. Now, the theme running through tonight's meeting is, where the money gone? Where the money gone? Now, that is a question that every single Barbadian is asking every time they got to dodge a pothole, every time they have to go to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, every time they go to the pharmacy and they're told, we cannot fill your prescriptions, you have to go to a private pharmacy because we do not have the medication. Now, this is a time where we know that Barbados has borrowed the most money in the history of this country. There's no doubt about it. You can go online, you can check. You hear of the loans every other week. Yet, when you look at the bread and butter issues that affect us, we have never been so bad. Many of us have never been so poor. It is a fact. So we can feel that things are not right. But yet you know that we have borrowed over $7 billion to date. And we know that every time she gets a loan, she kicks the repayment down the road, which means that our children and our grandchildren have to pay back that money. She certainly will not. And this morning I was at the christening of my second grandchild. And during that church service, I thought of the fact that this child is going to inherit a Barbados totally different from the one his father had and from the one his mother had. And I wonder if any members in that bloated cabinet, when they sit down to make their decisions, understand that they are leaving Barbados worse than they found it, with the most money we have ever borrowed. And I wonder, where the money gone? So tonight, our speakers are going to touch on various ministries, and they're going to ask the question, where the money gone? St. John, you have an MP, and when you see him, if you see him, you have to ask him, where the money gone? Because I ain't see it in St. John. I ain't see it. Our first speaker is the former Attorney General, Adriel Brathwaite. As I said last week in St. Andrew, a good friend of mine, school friend. We don't agree on much, but he's my party brother. He's my brethren. And although we may disagree on much, we respect each other. He is an accomplished attorney at law. He joined this party in the 1980s, which is ancient for some young people. But when you look at him, you can't see it. I'm going to be kind tonight, because last night at Gall Hill, he told a youngster, be careful with the old woman. He meant me. That is the kind of friends the DLP people is, but I don't mind. I still love him. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, our first speaker, former Attorney General Adriel Brathwaite.
Thank you. For a moment, I thought that you were my wife when you said we don't agree on much. I was very concerned. Good evening, St. John. It's indeed a pleasure to be here, to be asked to say a few words. I am well known around here, and Nicholas would tell you that I sometimes come here to have a glass of water with the guys, as you can see. So therefore, I have a very keen interest in St. John. I just want to touch on a few things. We had a meeting last Sunday in St. Andrew, which I thought was an outstanding meeting indeed. What came out of that meeting, most of all, is the fact that the motto of the Arlene School, for others, not self, resonated with all of the speakers then, and we intend to make sure that, in fact, that we incorporate it in everything that we do on behalf of the people of Barbados. I think I see our president in the audience, Ronnie, welcome. So, I am privileged to be here, and it is Errol Barrow weekend in particular, because that in many ways is where my life started. Because as a youngster, my mother was wondering how is she going to be able to send to school her 4 boys. And then Barrow came along and transformed the lives not only of my family, but many families across Barbados. Indeed, listen to the radio this afternoon. One of the things that was said is that he moved Barbados from a collection of villages into significant parishes. That's the kind of difference that he made in their lives. And that's the kind of difference that Ronnie and his team that he's assembling also wants to make in the lives of Barbadians. That's why Ronnie, last Sunday, and it resonated with me, said, I am looking for leaders. I want young leaders, male and female. I want whoever you are, who are interested in putting others first, not self. Come on board and join us as we try to rescue Barbados and transform Barbados. Because it does not matter whether or not you utilize the services of the Government Information Service, the Public Affairs Service, or the other avenues that the government is using to distill information around here. Because we know that the realities on the ground are significantly different from what we are seeing and what we are hearing from the government. And on a parochial basis, because many of you may know that, in fact, that I have a residence not far from here, that I can point to things in St. John that we would like to have addressed. If you come up the road by Todd, you see houses started there, and they seem to have been abandoned. No one knows what's happening with them. Our roads are not improving. For years, I've been saying that the St. John Primary School, that you're putting new paint on old buildings, and you're not going to cure the issues like that. But they had to wait on students and teachers to get sick and sick and sick before making a decision. On that note, a couple of days ago, I'm told that we may have a mold infestation in the polyclinic. Again, are they going to wait until nurses become ill, until the persons who go there become ill to address it? So these are the parochial issues in St. John that when I drive around or walk around, that I'm hearing that, in fact, that all is not well. Last night, I said to one of my friends at the cricket game, I said, I am not quite sure why government has this initiative where they're placing fences around lots of fields, like up here at Gold Hill, saying that they're making mini stadiums. And I said then that in fact all that's going to happen is that the guys are going to knock them down eventually, and then they're going to pay someone else to put them up. Lo and behold, this morning I come outside and see the fence up there knocked down already. And I said, but the only reason why this could have been conceptualized is to give money to people, because it does not make a lot of sense to me. But it obviously made sense to them. So all isn't well in St. John. We were able to arrest the water issues in St. John. We were able to move water from Grove and St. Philip into St. John. But for whatever reason, every time it rains, our water gets cut off immediately. And for whatever reason, the Barbados Water Authority seem unable to cure this issue. And I do not understand why every time it rains, once it rains, and in fact, most houses in the district where I live automatically have a tank because of our. So all is in St. John. And I want, on behalf of this party, to commit to the people of St. John that we will work a difference in your lives. We will not abandon you. We will come around, not talk to you, where we can assist you and make a difference in your lives. Always being to the people of St. John, return. That's my commitment, and Ronnie made a commitment that we will ensure that the Democratic Party rescues St. John from risk by putting time and effort and resources into St. John, by training the right person who will take over St. John and assist with its transformation. I want tonight to call for a few things, because this present DLP, we are committed to ensuring that there's transparency in everything that we do. That's the theme that you will hear from our president, and that's the theme that you will hear from our speakers. Transparency, integrity. So we want government to enact with haste freedom of information legislation. And I will explain to you why that is important. I'll explain to you why that's important. Because I want to spend a couple of minutes on the sugar industry, the so-called sugar industry transformation. We are told that, in fact, that there's a cooperative, there are two companies, one that will look after the sugar industry and one that will look after the energy component. And that, in fact, that the credit unions will be asked to invest. Now let me say this, Irene, because I know that you are a part of the management of one of our credit unions. Do not invest my money in this venture, because I don't understand how they could be asking us to invest money in the venture without being able to analyze the pros and cons of it. But we are hearing that, in fact, that the credit unions will be asked to invest. And we're also being told that the credit unions will be asked to lend money to its members to invest. So that if it fails, the credit unions will get a double whammy. Its own investment plus the members. So I'm saying tonight that based on information that has been made available to us, that I cannot see how any right-thinking management of our credit unions can say, yes, we are on board with the information that's made available. But lo and behold, as I said, that's the connection between freedom of information legislation. Will let us know what is going on, not the misinformation. Then we will be able to make informed decisions. Again, they came out and said that all 1,100 employees from the AMC will be re-employed, and that they, in fact, will become shareholders. But we don't know who paid for their investment. We don't know if it's part of their severance, or if it was a handshake, or if in fact the money actually passed. But we are told that they will become shareholders. We're also told that in fact that they'll be paid more than they were before. And of course, the usual thing, every time that things like this arise, red herring. We don't want black people to get involved in some ventures. So that's why we're being critical. Well, last time I looked in the mirror, I happened to be black. And I don't have a problem with investing in ventures that make sense. But Mr. Brown and his team, with the information that you're making available to us, I cannot, and I'm asking you, to insist that in fact that this information is made available to us. We cannot afford to invest millions of dollars into a venture without knowing where the money is going and what returns will be made. We cannot. And it is not a case of me throwing cold water on anyone's idea. It's that the information that has been made available to us does. And the other side of the coin is that the idea that they will be controlling the sugar industry does not add up also, because the large private landowners still remain the landowners, which is the Barbados Sugar Industry Limited. They still remain, which is the private growers. They still remain the landowners. So government must give us the information. Ambassador Maskell, a couple of days ago, I saw some comments from him, again throwing murky water around, that in fact that the sugar industry was making money because what was happening was that the government was subsidizing the sugar industry, but a private company whose name he will not disclose was turning around and selling the sugar back to us at a profit and making millions of dollars over the years. Well, if that's true, will give us information so that we will know whether or not it makes sense. And that's what I'm calling on tonight, that in fact that we enact freedom of information legislation so that we don't have to speculate, so that we don't have to depend on government to feed us information and little bits whenever they feel like. Consistent with our efforts to ensure that in fact that we bring a new level of government, we also want government to go ahead and enact the integrity legislation. Go ahead. We have no fear. We have said to the young people who are coming on board, when you come on board, come prepared to work for others, not self. And indeed, this has been the theme of the Democratic Labour Party for ages, because I saw a quote from the Right Excellent Errol Barrow in his mirror image speech, and basically saying the same thing, that in fact that if you come to this party looking to be wealthy, then you've come the wrong place. And that's Barrow's philosophy, and that's the philosophy that has remained in this party. And therefore we want government, whatever they say, whatever prevents them, spend the money and enact the integrity legislation, because we want it to come on board. So that if you had integrity legislation, if you had freedom of information legislation, what happened a couple of weeks ago with that famous check for $7,500 that was paid to the Deputy Prime Minister? That would not be such an issue, because it would have been fully, we would be able to know it was paid and know everything about it. So, on board with a new brand of governance. Similarly, in 2018, they came up to St. John. I was in Colleton, shop up in Colleton, again, having a glass of water. And they came up here and said to the guys down Bath that they will ensure that all of them will be given marijuana licenses and that they would not have to pay for the licenses. That's what they were told. And I said to the boys, I said, when I actually believe that, The legislation clearly states what will be required. So that is a bunch of hogwash. That's exactly what I said to them. And as I speak to you, I am sure that if there's grass being grown down Bath, it's not legal. It's not legal. But moreover, to my knowledge, at least 2 individuals who's invested thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars into the marijuana industry have packed up and left because they, as usual, this is what the Barbados Party does. They talk pretty and then try to line up everything else. So, actually, and as I speak 24, they don't have the systems in place to make sure that there's in fact a viable industry. So you can ask any of the youngsters around here if I'm misleading you about that. But this is how the Barbados Party behaves. They make you believe that all is well. And we want to make sure that when our young people go into the communities, young and old, because I'm not saying that we're just going to have young people go into the communities, that we don't feel obligated to make promises to individuals that we know will not be realized. That is something, that's a peculiar habit of certain actors in this society, that they look at the young people and they say, this is what we're going to do, and then get in the car and forget the conversation altogether. But we do not want to practice that. We do not want to practice that. So I'm saying to you, ladies and gentlemen, notwithstanding what you are hearing, notwithstanding the gloating about having the finals for Cricket World Cup this year, and the hundreds of people or thousands of people who are going to come into Barbados, the reality on the ground is that many of our people are going shopping and looking at the cash register and deciding which of their groceries to leave. That's our reality. Our reality is that in the face of saying that 70% at least of our people are living in poverty, but they're now doing some more work on it. That's our reality. And as I said last Sunday, even though I'm not involved in politics, people are still calling, actively. People are still calling. And when they're seeing you, asking, can you help, can you help, can you help? And something must be done. That if in fact this country is doing so well, as they want us to believe, that it isn't trickling down. It isn't trickling down. The money seems to be staying at the top. And part of the reason why they can get away with this is because we are seeing across Barbados lots of Range Rovers and Hondas and BMWs, etc., mostly reconditioned cars that people are buying. And we believe that, in fact, that things must be well, because look how people live in. And we're hearing about facts that people are paying $1,000 for a ticket and going to the all-inclusive, etc. But those are those people who can afford it on the face of it. But that's not the common man, and that's not the people that I associate with here in St. John on a daily basis. And that's why we must continue our fight. And that's why I'm urging you, all of you, to come on board with us. Join President Ronnie and his team, because Barbados needs us. Last Sunday when I was finished speaking, it is quite ironic that I received a couple of messages from people outside of this party who said, Adriel, I am happy to know that you have come on board to assist your president, because Barbados needs a properly functioning Democratic Labour Party. But within our own party, you would hear criticism. Every time we are moving forward, some people just seem to sit down and decide they're moving forward, things looking too well. Let us create an issue. But I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, based on what I'm hearing on the ground, based on what I am seeing on the ground, this Democrat Labour Party is moving forward. The train is moving forward positively. And I want you to join us. Join us on this journey. It's going to be long, but stay with us, stay the course. I am confident. I am confident in the road that we're taking. I am confident in the young people that are coming on board. I think young Rasheed is coming in a couple of seconds. I'm confident in the young people who are coming on board that we are going in the right direction. And I'm happy to be part of this journey. And I look forward to continuing to participate and assisting going forward. Thank you very much.
Well, that was a positive start. As I said, good energy. Good energy is what we want. No fake energy, no bad energy. Good energy. I know all the young people phrases. Now, earlier, my brother talked about the 50 million going to Kensington, and I pull out a note. I keep receipts, right? And I remember I wrote this down when I heard it, that half the 50 million going to Kensington, and the other half, and the other half, and the other half, and the other half, I will quote, goes to building that solid platform for the redevelopment of our cricket. What that means? That's another word for pocket, you think? That's what you said, not me. I'm just echoing what you said. Can you imagine? Building that solid platform for the redevelopment of our cricket. 50 million. Where the money going? Where the money going? You know, if you don't laugh, you will cry. But these are things that you as Barbadians have to remember, because in the final analysis, it is your money. And it is your money you have to repay. So when they are speaking, you have to listen. And listen carefully. Because what they're doing, and I won't say what they're doing because I have nothing to give me a Motley nor none, and she 29. But what they're doing in plain sight. And when they had their bag, they had all the information and could not lock up a frog. Could not find a crapper on the road to lock up. All of that was just to Mama Guy minds that were open to foolishness. But there's buyer's regret now. I know there's buyer's regret in St. John. So when Adriel spoke about we coming back, let Mr. Griffith know we coming for he too. We coming for he. We coming back for here. He had 2 opportunities. And all you could hear last night is that when you call the name, that is Barbadian language for disgust. Because they can't see what he has produced for the 2 terms. Our next speaker is Rasheed. He is one of our young men who would have entered the political last election. I just asked him how old he was, because I saw some literature running about my pasture last night, and I remember that Rasheed. And you know he features Rasheed. He's all Rasheed. That Rasheed. I'm like, Rasheed's 36 years old. But he's doing what the Prime Minister who would not do what he doing do. You understand? So ladies and gentlemen, come Rasheed.
Hey. After all, she asked for us to repopulate the island, so. Good night, St. John. How are you? Back on the stomping ground. We started in 2024 on the train. St. John's the first place we came. Now we just want to touch on one thing that my senior brother in the party, Adriel Brathwaite, said. The Medicinal Marijuana Act was passed in 2019. If you follow the media, the University of West Indies was now granted a license for research and development. The act was passed in 2019. 5 years later, the key institution in the country, which you don't have to pay for research and development, now getting a license to research and develop marijuana in the country. No, you see why young people just complain and say that the older folks don't want we getting the word, they don't want to see we getting the way, and you think that the young people complaining for no reason? Because when you lapse, when you take 5 years to allow the key institution to research and develop marijuana, where other countries are moving forward with the research and development, they leave us in the dust. We starting from behind all the time. We have to start with the behind mentality and start to be proactive. And that's why you need young people like me in the party, because we're looking to get proactive. And I don't know if Michael Lashley is here, but tonight we will prosecute Charles Chocolate tonight, all right? And we ain't eating it because it ain't taste too good. The theme of tonight is where the money gone. Where the money gone now. We're not casting any aspersions on anyone's character. Because we're not casting any aspersions on anyone's character, we're letting the people decide. Now tell me, how many playing fields in Barbados have been remolded by the Minister of Sports? 0. How many basketball courts have been resurfaced? 0. How many netball courts, the hoops rusting out and breaking down, looking like a drunken man leaning all the time? How many have refurbished? None. How many pavilions have been refurbished? None. Not one. So where has the money gone? I think the Prime Minister gave each minister a budget to work with every year, right? And he stood in the House of Assembly and said, we have a subvention for sports clubs in the country. That is on camera. Not one sports club has received none of the $20,000. So where the money gone? I'm not accusing anyone of stealing. I'm not accusing anyone of malfeasance. But if you can look at every playing field in the country, nothing has been done in the last 3 to 5 years. Tell me, where has the money? It gone nowhere. It gone into fencing. He's not the Minister of Sport, he's the Minister of fencing, because fencing's going up everywhere across the country around playing fields. St. John has a very pretty fence around the playing field. How much that can cost? More than $20,000? Now remember, each club in Barbados was supposed to get $20,000. Now look at this. You got the Barbados Football Association, you got the Hockey Association, you got the Netball Association, that's 3 so far, catering to more than 1,500 to 2,000 people in the country. Volleyball, dominoes, squash, badminton. What has this man done? It's not like we could criticize him like the Minister of Finance or the Minister of Education who got government running into these schools. We can't criticize none of them because at least they are doing things and following up, but he's doing nothing. Nothing at all. I have no material. I was doing my research. I was saying, why could hit this man for now? I said, this man even tried to refurbish the National Stadium. He ain't tried to do nothing at all. At all. Does he get a budget? We know if he get a budget. I believe so. Has he spent any money on their budget? I'm not accusing him of keeping anything, but we cannot see. Well, if it did, it did. But we cannot see the benefits of him being a Minister of Sport in the country. Where are the science projects? Where are the entrepreneurial projects? Where are the workshops? Things that have been going on in the country when the DLP was in power, correct? You may criticize the DLP about multiple things, but the youth was a target and a primary objective of the Democratic Labour Party, and that is why I am here on this podium supporting this party. I supported the party when they were down, and they will support the party when we are up. All over, we're working. We started in the St. John, but we may end somewhere in St. Lucie by the end of the year. Get on board this train. This is the time for work. This is not the time for infighting. This is not the time for misery. This is not the time for a party to be subpar or equal to the Barbados Labour Party. You have to be above the Barbados Labour Party next election. We cannot win a straight fight with them unless we join together. We don't have to touch on everything, but let me get back to Charles Chocolate. Right? No. What tournament in Barbados has he supported that he could say, well, yes, I put money into this, we achieved this? Nothing. No, listen, the hockey, the under-21 girls hockey team, they played Peru and was demolished. They were beaten very badly. But the comments, I pay attention to social media, you know, from the younger generation. The comments on social media were so disparaging, right? And it hurt me as a sports administrator because they run a football team. The reason why it hurt me, right, is because you criticizing the under-21 team for not matching it against these teams which are invested in. Teams where private institutions, private companies in their countries, and the government put money into these teams. So you can't expect persons to go to work, still go out deal with children, still go out deal with bills, come get practice late, and still expect to perform at the highest level. You have to create a structure or a framework or a space for we to actually excel in sports. We cannot dominate sports if we do not invest in ourselves. And we do not invest in ourselves. And I will criticize my government too, because there need to be more investments into sports. And when we take this government over again, I will tell Mr. Yearwood, listen, when we allocate into whatever, youth in this country need priority. Sports in this country need priority. So put some money into sports and stop putting up fences. Not you, Mr. President, I mean Charles Chocolate. Right. I mean swimming, athletics, surfing. Listen, there's even a newly built skating arena at the gymnasium. All of these things we can utilize to develop the young people, because the thing is, everyone is not academic. If you realize, don't know if you realize, but sports paying a lot more money than an accounting job or a managerial job. One team you can get £500,000, so why we not setting up academies to develop the young people? I am sure grandparents and parents will be happy if the children fly them out to watch matches overseas. This is the type of investment I'm looking at, semi-pro and semi-professional leagues. Something that is paying you to play sports. This is 2024. We can't play sport for free no more. Tell me anything you can do for free in 2024. You never get a boy a favor. That's the boy come back for salt or ice and you demand something in return. Nothing is free today. Nothing. And sports cannot be playing free forever. So it's time for us to invest in the young people. Invest in football, invest in basketball. Let us set up these academies and start to push persons overseas, because the current minister is not going to do anything. You have to lodge a formal complaint with Mayor Motley to tell her that her minister of sport is not doing anything. He's not working. And the next time she reshuffle the cabinet, leave out the joker, put it one side. Because we have a joker for a minister of sport and youth, at least under the, listen, Democratic Labour Party had a cricket match last night, and that event was bigger than anything the sports minister did. Michael Lashley had a cricket match in Boys Mill that was bigger than any sports event the minister did. Tell me what has the man? Nothing. I cannot criticize him on nothing. Why? Because he has done nothing. And we asking where the money gone. Seriously, where the money gone? Not a cent for the Water Football Club, and he promised us $20,000, and not one club in Barbados. Remember, he promised the associations. There are multiple associations with multiple teams, and not one cent, not one. Listen, this is not coming. I'm not politicizing this issue. I'm not exaggerating this issue. I'm just speaking facts. Tell me which basketball court in Barbados has been resurfaced. None. And in front yard too? Tell me, look at the National Stadium. Has the athletic track been resurfaced? No, but we parading what we superstar running Shadia, right? We parading her all over the place. Say, yeah, she's doing good. But they wouldn't even resurface the national stadium to give her a proper training ground to run on. You think we like, if there's an opportunity for her to get bronze, then there's a possibility to get silver or gold. So you tell me we can't take some of the 20,000 that Charles promised us to put into the stadium to at least provide an environment for her to training. The government support Usain Bolt, a man that get millions of dollars and is still pouring money into this man. In Barbados, you don't get sent for sports nor youth. All they do for the youth service was change the name. Tell me what opportunities the people in youth service getting now. They still want me going to cut grass. Understand what he's saying? The only thing they have provided for us as young people, well, this current minister is nothing. So understand when the young people say we don't trust the older people about our future. Our generation has a little drawback about trusting the older generation with our future. Don't be offended. The facts speak for itself, right? The facts speak for itself. So this is not me parading or trying to embarrass people. This is me telling the Democratic Labour Party, look, when we are focusing and when we are strategizing, when we are planning the next manifesto, this is where we need to divert our attention into the future. Into the future, right? And for the future, some of the ideas we have to put forward is some of the ideas. One of them is what we call a combined project, right? And the basis of this combined project is to treat it like a group project. So a lot of young people into rallying. We know that. A lot of young people just fly past everybody St. John going out to rally, right? So if we could get these young people, some who are skills training, some who are mechanics, to at least join into a group project, because the ministry will at least provide the shell, and you have the students fitting and making the parts. So you create your own rally car. That's something everybody would be invested in, you know? And if the rally car does well, everybody get an A+. That's all he's saying. But it's something for everybody to put their energy in. Robotics as well. Look how the world is going. Technology. So we got to create the environment for people to excel. Don't just think that we can go to university and learn it. We got to put in some money, invest in the youth, and create these frameworks for us to excel. So you got like rally car, you got robotics. Something you have to look at too is fish farming and vertical farming, right? Because you know, the government said to Suriname, listen, who we food security, you know, take care of food, some vegetables and fruits every weekend, and we're gonna be good. No, if we're paying attention to global issues, we will realize that Ukraine and Russia in the war, right? We will realize that there's Hezbollah, there's Gaza, there's Israel, there's the USA, there's Iran. So tell me, for crying out loud, if World War III break out and shipping prices going up, and boats can't come to Barbados, how we can get feed? You think Suriname is some man Barbados, how we food, man? We can starve here in Suriname, what want to eat when the belly full? Who want drums this beat first? So how we could give our food security to another country and look how the world is going? If anything breaks, so if another COVID epidemic breaks, so if the ships aren't bringing any stock, if nothing is coming to Barbados, how will we eat? No boy can answer me, right? But let me provide you with a little opportunity. Alternative is to invest in fish farming, invest in vertical farming, because you can produce more agriculture if you vertically farm than if you horizontally farm. Okay? Just something we learn in Nazivia. But if you put these kind of workshops and projects into the primary schools, into the secondary schools, use it as skills training, then we would start to develop a generation who would not have to depend on Suriname to feed us, right? We can't focus on the older generation. We have to focus on ourselves. Why? Because all this money that the Prime Minister borrowing, we ain't go up here back. So we can't go to the supermarket and buy grapes that coming in from Suriname. What happened if the Houthi rebels in Yemen, when they shut off the shipping lane, and everybody talking about insurance for the shipping going up. Shipping going up. A barrel now costs a lot of money to clear from the port. When these prices double, tell me, when the chicken and chips that you buying for $20 cost $40, because everything coming in, the seasoning being imported. I'm not talking about what we produce locally because we import a lot of stuff. But when the rice and the basmati rice that we like to eat, even the flying fish is more expensive than anything, you know. So when everything's skyrocketing and something break out, a world war break out, how will we feed ourselves? Tell me. We cannot. But how will we feed ourselves in this small island? Is there enough well, unless we're ready to can and probably plant some of the bush that Adriel said is parked down in St. John. But depending on what we look at the plant, you may not be able to feed the goal 200 or 300,000 people in Barbados. So vertical farming provides you with the environment and the spare room to feed a group of people at a time. All right? So these are the things that as a Democratic Labour Party, these are the policies we will be looking to implement. These are something that the youth could buy into, and they will have some benefits down the road. They will become agriculturalists, they will grow their own food, and they can even turn around and sell masses and extra melons that left over. So all could turn into business, right? Tell that to Charles Chocolate. Stop putting up fence. Because it's something we try not to get into, you know. Because to protect the fence, you gotta hire somebody to protect the fence, right? Who get the money? Who get the contracts? We were not speaking about the freedom of information. This is not coincidence. This is planned. We are speaking about the freedom of information. Why? Because we don't know the contractor that getting on the contracts. No, I have nothing against a private company maneuvering next to a minister to secure themselves and get out the contracts to put up fencing around the place. But at least resurface a basketball court, remove the playing field, at least buy some bars for some playing fields, or football, refurbish a pavilion, at least put a computer or a TV in some of the pavilions so you could create at least a small academic space for children in the community. Nothing of the sorts is coming from the Ministry of Sports. Nothing is coming from the Minister of Sport. He's the Minister of making sport and making sport of Barbadian lives. He's doing nothing. I'm lodging a formal complaint with the Prime Minister to remove the Joker from the deck because he's doing nothing but making sport at us, at the young people. Well, whatever part you carry, you going to. No, what I would like to say in closing, as a younger member of this party, yeah, and I don't plan to touch anything controversial, but I would just like to give you a point of view. From my point of view, now, when I joined the party was down. I didn't join the party for fame or fortune. It's just that I believe in a dream. And I believe that we could offer something better. And I believe that the party actually caters to you call them working class, but I get away with the fancy titles, the poor people. People that coming up. There's a party that you can rely on to get some help. Now, if I look at my phone and I see somebody put a picture, put a sign on the fencing or the gate at the DLP auditorium. You know what I mean? It don't look good. And it is depressed a younger member like me because I don't got a horse in the race. It don't bother me. It don't bother me if your auditorium is X or Y. It don't bother me if you paint blue or black. My purpose in this party is for progress, not for infighting. Like I said, I don't got a horse in the race, but if it's an issue, I believe it is a little easier to deal with the issue rather than putting in the public, because in the public way look like want to still scrapping, want to down, and want to still fighting, want to look like want to gain progress, want to move from royalty to paroles. You understand? So all things people will be saying. So if it's an internal issue like that and a serious issue, we could discuss it a little better than putting things in the media, because it don't reflect good on the party and it don't reflect good on me. Because the question is, why you to support these people? You should join the raid. You could use your skills on the raid. So now you stop at home. As a lawyer, might be shit burning again. You know with it. You understand? So all it was say to the entities that be, let us join hands and progress and move forward, people. Thank you very much.
That was so touching, so touching. And he's a young man, as I said, 36 years old, at the age of my oldest child. You understand? I am saying that if he, at his age, understands the purpose, the philosophy of this great party, it tells you that he is in the right place. His head is in the right place. What he said tonight was very insightful, and I applaud him for it. I do. And I gave him a hug for it. Now, that's right. That's right. I see him there with Richard now, Ronnie, and think that's what we want to see. That's what we want to see. But we are here tonight, as I said, positive energy, good vibes. And I was there chatting with one of my young sisters because I remember Rasheed was talking about the medicinal marijuana industry. And you know, we have a whole unit set up to manage that. And to show you that these people do not know what they are doing. They recently appointed a young person who they call an influencer because this government governs through social media. So they hire influencers all over Barbados to pay them to promote whatever the government is doing. Now, you're supposed to have people managing ministries, and they got influencers on Instagram and other areas of social media trying to sway public opinion rather than doing the job. I was going to say another word, but I didn't know anything. The point is, though, the last thing that this person did, the head of this unit, was last week she hired an influencer, and it was emblazoned all over Instagram. It was promoted as a major achievement. This girl is now supposed to be the advocate of the marijuana industry. A girl is called Drumstick Bandit. I ain't lying cause I don't tell lies. She named Drumstick Bandit. And she is we were called now, she's going to be the face. Go on Instagram and look for her. Drama Incorporated she is. Because I follow them, I was getting enough jokes. If you want a good belly laugh, go on the young people Instagram. White collar crime and them kind of people. You laugh, your belly full. So are you looking out for Drumstick Bandit? Ask Tyra how to find she. I see that's cruel. But this is an industry that we should take seriously. And you got a girl that don't know a man plant from a woman plant and talking about she gonna be the spokesperson for a multi-million-dollar industry. Well, she is or not I don't care. What I care about is my taxpayers' money. And what I care about is who's spending my money. That's what I care about. They do not know what they're doing. The representative, I hear Rasheed talk about what he ain't do. But the other day he was on Instagram, flaming, as the young people would say, boasting about launching some major cricket tournament that's going to have all this money behind it. And a man come on and say, but the young people in the law, young people for cricket, sir, you out of touch. And there's a minister of sport, yeah. But I went on to let you know that he canceled, that this government canceled the David Thompson Memorial Football Tournament, right, for politics, because of politics. And that tournament had the young people engaged, men and women. And when you got a football team on the field, there's a couple fellas that ain't getting in trouble for that night. When you got those men on the field at practice, there's a couple fellas that ain't in the body house doing foolishness. It was a well-structured program. It was a very popular program. And because of politics, this government spite the young people because that is who they are. That is who they are. And he felt that was a major achievement. Let me tell you something, see? You see these achievements. Yeah, achievement. A major achievement. Because he wanted St. Michael Northwest. Talk about his achievements. But he got achievements coming Thursday. Because he went on Instagram and they see that he achievements coming on Thursday. But we ain't going there. We ain't going there tonight. We're going to be positive. Although we're going to judge them too. We got to judge them still. Because they deserve it. They deserve it. They are not worth. You know, when you look at it, you got 30 of them. And none of them can make up one good DLP one that we had. As a fact, they can't make up for housing. They can't make up for health. They certainly can't make up for tourism. And before I go any further, and education, sure. So before I go any further, though, I would like to tell you that the next speaker is the best tourism minister we had in decades. They can't touch it. They're talking about pre-COVID levels of numbers. 2019 is where they want match. Then no going to start to work. And Mr. Richard Seeley will come here and tell you about the money and probably tell you where the money gone in that particular industry. Because we know that she have 4 ministers, and the one who should have been minister first, she put last. You know she doing. And give this one a basket to carry water. And Grenada got the talent that belonged to us. Politics again. You understand? So Richard, you come. You come. You ready? Come, come.
I was just getting warm. Greetings to everyone. Greetings to the wonderful people of St. John. Indeed, this is sacred DLP territory. The constituency once represented by the man whose birthday, 104th birthday, would have been today, Errol Walton Barrow. And so I only ask, of course, in the words of the psalmist, that my words, may they be acceptable, and the meditations of my heart in the sight of my Redeemer and my Savior. That's all I can ask. Because tonight, all I have to say is to share with you the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And it is time that we collide with the truth on so many, many issues. Welcome, of course, my good friend, Michael Lashley. His watch has a habit of stopping when he has appointments, so he's a bit late. Great to see you. Thank you for coming. You were advising a client. Michael Lashley being interviewed on TV. They asked him, who is the client? He said, my client is the accused. Boy, only Lashley could get away with that nonsense, I tell you. But it was really refreshing to hear Rasheed. Yes, and you heard how effortlessly he is putting forward ideas for our young people. And trust me, he has the receipts. You understand what that means in young people talk? It means he's coming to the table with credibility in that regard. I had the opportunity of walking through Wotton and the surrounding areas with Rasheed. If you should get that experience, I tell you, take you in the corners and the crevices and, lots of smoke and things will be a thing. But don't mind that part. The point is, young and old, he knows them all. And he is the tower of strength behind that Wotton Football Club, of course, that did extremely well. They made the finals of the knockout tournament, but of course they had to deal with the St. Michael South Central powerhouse, the Weymouth Wales, and that we brought that Cinderella story to an end. But nevertheless, Rasheed, you did very well. And Wotton Football Club, and you should continue to do some good work. Now, we can't unleash everybody tonight. Amaya, where are you? This is the sort of talent that we have. Yes, come, Amaya. Come a little closer. Come. You see, we have talent. And there are those who have been before, but this is a young attorney at law, former environmental health officer. Lots of ideas. That's good. Yeah, just say hello to the people. Am I right? Just say hello.
Good night, everyone. Good night. Good night.
That's right. And tell us about what's going on in the hospital.
Look how you come and put me on the spot now.
No mind. We ain't. Look. This is a series. You will hear from her in due course. Okay. You heard Rasheed. We have other talent, and that is the point. This is a continuum. Okay. And this party is alive and real and has a legitimate future. I don't want to go off track too much, but to tell you the truth, the hospital, can you imagine being triaged, going to the A&E and they see you? Eleanor, that's the right term, right? French word, it means to sort. That's the initial encounter you have. And afterward, you gotta wait 2 or 3 days on a gurney before you can go to a ward or go to get an x-ray. It is crazy. Lives are being lost, literally, because of the mismanagement in the A&E department in the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. And, you know, we want to talk about Barbados being such a wonderful place. Forget about climate change for just 2 weeks and fix that A&E department. That is what you need to do. It is crazy. I had my own personal experience, and I'm sure you have had yours. And I'm not even going to get into the system-wide issues. What's going on in the 9 polyclinics? What's going on in terms of primary health care? The illogic of putting a geriatric hospital between a party center and a highway with lorries and motorcycles running up and down. I don't think anybody can understand that. But don't worry. As I said, Amaya will deal with that at a future meeting with her experience and her qualifications. And that is just so wonderful, again, that we have all of these young people who are prepared to courageously associate with the Democratic Labour Party. I want you to understand it is not easy for them, you know. I mean, I could tell you, there was a time when I was young too, and you remember when the Labour Party had nearly all the seats, and it was tough for us to associate with the party. Any young person who decides to become politically active with the Democratic Labour Party, we have to be prepared to do everything in our power to once again not only bring hope to the people of Barbados, but much like Errol Barrow understood in the early 60s, we have to transform people's lives in a very positive way. And once we do that, Barbados can be the beacon, near and far, all over the world, because it truly is something special. I didn't even get into the business of the debt and the fact that we're borrowing money from everybody who's prepared to lend money. And that is something that the Prime Minister needs to answer. Darlene, the proprietor of the place where we are, and once again, thank all of you for listening to me. So continue to keep hope alive, because Lord knows this country needs it, and it is the Democratic Labour Party that is the only legitimate vehicle that can get us to achieve what we need to achieve as a nation. So once again, happy Errol Barrow Day, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Comrade Seeley. Light the colors. You know, my comrades brought me a red one just now, you know. I gotta let her know the only thing red I wear is lipstick. So she brought this, and I thank her for it. Now, I want to share something with you. You know, I use the terminology receipts as well. I use it a lot. And I found something the other day that I had stored, which fit neatly into this meeting tonight, where we question where the money gone. Remember Clay Maskell? Anybody remember him? Remember, sometime last year, he was asked about thank you so much, asked about the revenue of the Barbados Water Authority. Anybody remember that? You should, because he told us that they were making 80 million every month. Remember that? From the garbage and sewage tax, 80 million per month. That was 2 years ago. And I want to play for you what he said.
In April of 2019-20 fiscal year, 79 million.
Hold on. April 2019.
I'm going to torture you with data. In May, 78.3 million. In June, 81.3 million. In July, 84.7 million. In August of that year, 84.5 million. In September of that year, 85.4 million. In October, 83.1. In November, 80.5. December, 82.6. In January, 83.2. In February, 88.6. In March, 87.1. In the fiscal year of 2021, April, 86.9. May, 89.4. Do you want me to go on?
But Clyde, what I'm hearing here, if I do a quick average, that's $80 million, $82 million per month. So the question still stands as to where is the distribution of those funds going and what are they going to? That is a question I think the public
So y'all heard all of that, right? Do you know in August last year, because what Clay is telling us is that they would have collected $960 million in a year. Remember that? But yet in August last year, the general manager of the Barbados Water Authority told us that they collected $344 million in 4 years, which is $6.8 million a month. Let that sink in. 6.8 million a month, while Clay Maskell was telling you 80 million a month. Now the young people tell you math ain't mathing. The math is not mathing. And not a word from the people of Barbados. Not a word. You know how much money that is? You know that could build a whole hospital? You know what's the gap between 6.8 million a month and $80 million a month? Where the money gone? Where is the money? And nobody, no journalist, no investigative reporter, nobody asked a question. Remember what you're asking tonight. Where is the money? Where is the difference between the $80 million a month and the $6.8 million a month? That's real money. I'm going there. I want Barbadians to understand who should be in the red bag, though. Because obviously, She don't look in the mirror to see what they're doing. The reflection is definitely not clear for her and her people. But she knew about the Democratic Labour Party. She had a 10-year negative campaign. Don't forget, 10 years. She campaigned from 2010. She was in opposition campaign mode. 10 years. Building a narrative about the party of the right excellent Errol Walton Barrow. It is time for us to gather our receipts and build our campaign because we have facts. We don't have conjecture. These numbers I am make up. These numbers have come from them. And they need to tell Barbadians where the money gone. Remember what I said, garbage and sewage, average of 80 a month, 80 million, according to Clyde Maskell. And then by August last year, the general manager tell you 344 million in 4 years, 6.8 a month. That's what we're talking about. And that's what we should be looking at as taxpayers of this country. And then tell you about them going to give refunds. And half of us ain't get the money yet. We ain't get it. We ain't get it. They are the receipts that we keep. And that's why we got a $7.33 billion debt around our neck. And you can't tell us what is being done with that money. Tyra, are you here? Right here. All right. Irene, let me tell you, but she's a young plant, a young, beautiful plant. It will be good for her. Let me tell you, she's fire. I love her. And anything that we as seniors can do for these young people, we have to do. Step back and push them because they are the future of this party, especially those who show promise. And she has delivered time and time again. So beautiful one, bright one, come forward. Direct one, I keep saying she's made you uncomfortable. And when I say she's made you uncomfortable, Ronnie's get uncomfortable. But she's direct and to the point, and she always has her facts. Here we go, Tyra Trotman.
Oh, I got music too. Good night, DLP family. Good night, St. John. It's such an honor and a pleasure all the time to be able to be given the opportunity to stand before you and to speak to you. And I'm so honored that you take the time to listen to me. Tonight, I've been given the task of speaking to you about education, but rather, where the money gone when it comes to the education. Now, I walk with my receipts. I heard Brother Seeley talk about it earlier. The young people got the receipts. Well, I have my receipts this evening. I come in with facts. Now, more than 20% of the national budget is supposed to be spent towards education. In fact, in 2023, it was said that $2.5 million will be granted towards educational reform. But we have to get back to the basics. How can you say you want to reform the educational system when simple things you cannot get right? St. John Primary School. In June 6, 2023, it was reported that students and parents would have been assured that the Ministry of Education was working tediously to address the environmental issues at the institution. Minister K. McConney said, in fact, that the practice of cleaning, industrial cleaning of this school would happen every 3 months. This was in June. In December 14th, it was reported that the school had to relocate. Now, if my massing, as you just heard, that was 6 months later. So if Careless K had kept her promise and cleaned the school every 3 months, it should have been cleaned twice at least, right? 6 months later. But still, yet 6 months later, you have a situation where the students had to be relocated because her promise was not kept. And this seems to be a trend by this current administration. They make a lot of false promises, give you a lot of false hope. They say things and don't follow up. They don't mean them. They don't keep their word. But yet you have a public life integrity bill. But they lack integrity. No, that's St. John Primary School. It was also reported that there were 3 other primary schools that had environmental issues. In fact, there was a test conducted, and if you don't want to believe me, you can Google this. You heard Seeley talk about it. Google it. They conducted an environmental test, and the test showed that 81.8% of the surface sampled had predominantly or exclusively cladosporium spores growth that range from light to heavy mold. That cannot be healthy. In fact, you have a situation where there are persons now who have to have their thyroids operated on because of their breathing in this air that is not healthy. St. Stephen's Nursery School in Black Rock. Teachers, students left the premises during the midday after complaining they were no longer able to tolerate a pungent smell near the compound. They said it smelled like a combination of chicken feces and human feces, and it was very unbearable. To this day, has that issue been addressed? We have All Saints Primary School in Pleasant Hall, St. Peter. The students complained about cow itch. The irritant even halted classes, so students had to go home. They weren't able to learn. They had to go home prematurely. Their parents had to leave work to collect their children from the school prematurely. Now you have a situation where this is happening more than once. Can you imagine the reduction of productivity? Can you imagine the hours lost in the curriculum? These issues are not being addressed. In fact, so recent as January 10th, 2024, there was cow itch reported along the Blackman and Gollop Primary School, affecting the students, the teachers, and the staff. Last week, the All Saints Primary School in St. Peter also complained of cow itch. We had Lester Vaughan in King Garden, St. Thomas, where the parents and teachers complained about a variety of environmental issues. The parents complained that their children were experiencing dizziness and respiratory problems, especially those who had classes in the science lab. Now, I went to school at Commerce. I love Commerce School, up and on. But Commerce School, for the last 3 to 4 years, had to shut down ever so often because of environmental issues. And then Careless K has the gall to say, well, it's not only here, it's across a number of institutions, governmental and educational, across the island. She's making excuses instead of addressing the issue. And when she's called upon, you can't find her, really and truly. Where is K? And that's just only the environmental issues. Let us look at the fact that the structure of a classroom, the infrastructure of it has not changed for the last however much years. We still have teachers who are writing on whiteboard, who I've heard now the reflection from off of the whiteboard, the sun, is affecting students' eyes. Why are we still doing this in 2024, where you have things like projectors, where we have things that are supposed to be advanced, we have technology, Why is this not being implemented in the educational system? But yeah, you're talking about education reform. Not too long ago, you relocated the St. John's students, and then you had a situation where the janitor dropped through the floor. You were supposed to build prefabs, but you cut corners. Where the money gone? You have a situation where teachers are complaining they don't have the materials. They have to pull their own pockets. Teachers who already complain they don't get paid enough have to pull their own pockets to contribute towards the paper and the markers and the toilet paper, I'm hearing. Where the money gone? But you're speaking about education, reform. You have a situation where you're not looking into the security. You had a drill the other day at Springer Memorial School that was a catastrophe. Almost killed somebody's grandchild. Persons were trampled. They had to seek counseling. But yet you're saying you care about education reform, but you don't care about students, the students that make up the school. And let's not go further and talk about the training. Because a lot of the time, training is something which is necessary. But they're not investing in training, consistently training teachers to deal with different types of students. Not everybody learns at the same rate. What is happening to those? Are they being left behind? In fact, we are boasting we have a literacy rate of between 99 to 100%. But you have children leaving primary school who cannot read and write. We just had COVID. There are a lot of, and I myself, when I did law school, I did it during COVID. And it was difficult. It was not the same. Because when you're in a controlled environment, you're there to learn, you focus. But when you have to learn from at home and you have all different distractions, it's not as easy. So obviously, some persons are going to fall behind. Obviously, it's not going to be at the same standard or level it's supposed to be at. But you're pushing this 11 plus on persons, this CSC on persons. You're not hearing the outcries of the parents. You're not hearing the outcries of the students. But then we have a government who walks around and loves to say that they had stakeholder meetings, they consulted. But they didn't. But that will never happen with the Democratic Labour Party because we do our research. As you saw today, we have our receipts. We don't do knee-jerk things. So we will actually consult with parents and students and find out their needs before we come and implement this fancy education reform system. We will take the money, which is supposed to be allocated to education, and actually spend it where it's supposed to be spent, and not pocket the money, allegedly. But tonight I didn't only want to speak to you about education within the box, but let's think outside the box. You heard my sister Irene say, this government leads by PR. They like to paint a lot of false pictures on social media. They like to trick Bajans into believing something that is not true. So I do not want you to wait on us to educate you about what's happening in this country. I want you to take it upon yourselves to educate yourselves. Do the research. We live in a world today where research and information is so accessible. We have Google. Everybody, almost every single body has a smartphone. Use it not only to go on social media and curse people, but use it to go and research and find out for yourselves. The facts are there. Look at the facts. Do not let this current administration fool you into believing things that are not true. Do not let them try to repaint this DLP because we've done a lot of great things for this country. Go online and do your research. Look up the facts. Come to your own conclusions. Don't wait on us. And then I also wanted to speak to you tonight about my experience that I had today. So I can get a little personal now. Today I had an epiphany. I went to church this morning. In honor of the right excellent Errol Walton Barrow, the father of this nation. And I started to cry. And everybody was looking at me. In fact, somebody come up to me afterwards and asked me, somebody dead? No, nobody ain't dead. You see, what happened is, well, if you don't know, I am the president of the Young Dems. And so sometimes when you are a leader, you don't take the time to sit down and reflect or live in the moment. You're just currently moving, you know, you're told, you got this meeting here, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. So you don't really take time to sit down and reflect. But it hit me when I was in church because of what the pastor was saying. That I have taken on a role and a responsibility that is so much bigger than myself. I am now the voice of the youth. I now have the responsibility to go there and fight for the youth of Barbados, to fight for the future. I have a responsibility to make sure that as long as I can speak.
To my chambers, when she's ready, and hopefully that should be very soon, in the next couple of days. But tonight I just want to speak very briefly because, you know, I had a little injury. And standing on your feet normally gives you some pain. But from being kind of a prosecutor tonight, because I see you, and indeed I have to prosecute to ensure that the late David Thompson said to me that the people of St. John and that his vision for St. John is really to bring some housing and to make land available to the people of St. John so they can do what they want to do in terms of affordable housing. And so he was asked to acquire land at Pool Land, Cherry Grove, and Henley. Got town planning permission and everything to start the housing development. But that is against a background of our national hero, Errol Walton Barrow, who was so creative and so revolutionary when he decided to pass a piece of legislation called Control Development Act. That act corridor, and to ensure that landlords would not rip them off their property. Serve eviction notices and increase rents whimsically. So the Democratic Labour Party, we have a history of providing affordable housing and creating a vision to ensure. But we've had a housing program now, if you call it a housing program. And I have with me a bike with me. Because of issues relative, a local Barbadian had also put in a bid for those houses because at the time, we wanted to come very clean. And I also wanted to ask him, because if you spend $29 million in house, laying down on a bed and open the window, I won't be able to go through St. John. I should be able to go through. I should be able to go to St. Philip North and St. Philip South and see these Chinese houses up and people looking through the windows, rocking back with a glass. But I want to ask him some further questions too. And there were so many of them on the ground that I asked, Because the housing Labour Party has always been one theories, questionable decisions with respect to their housing program. Praise me too when the people in St. John school and constructed a prefab house in about let me declare I have a vested interest in it. Let me declare I have a vested speak about it too. Because it is nowhere that you could construct a building and then you walk through it the same day and fall right through the... Remind me of a man who built an upstairs big pen. And the big pen fall down. But it doesn't surprise me because if you take a glance of the General's report, when they did a report on housing in Barbados sometime in 2006, I was in opposition at the time. And they cast an indictment on contractors affiliated to the Barbados Labour Party because you know what the Auditor General said at the time? That if you want to be a contractor the Parliament Yard, you have to have criminal convictions and all these kind of things. It is in the report in Parliament. So it doesn't surprise me. But I don't want to cast any aspersions on the contractor. He got the contract. And so these things happen. But, you know, I'm so glad that the Minister of Education had walked through there. You know, because it has some more damage, very serious damage. But no, we have to treat housing in Barbados very seriously. And the Democratic Labour Party, when you look at the history of our programs, you will recognize how we treat housing in this country. But what would the thought that the Minister of Housing would say, look, you know what? Because every single day, somebody come into my office as a result of a house fire. And you know what? The problem in Barbados now is that private landlords are saying, no, I'm not getting involved. Because of the damage to their property. And so you have a problem in Barbados now because of some issue. But they thought that the man would say, look, there's a need in Barbados for emergency housing. That we must have government land and try to construct these Chinese houses someplace for fire, who has some sort of condition, who went to court and got evicted and cannot buy a house in the private market with respect to the private landlords. That was my vision. Because you brought the houses in for a public purpose of housing, and that the government was supposed to subsidize them, and we call an emergency housing market so that these people can be properly served. No. Here comes the Democratic Labour Party between 2008 and 2013. That we could come up with programs such as the infilling program. We could come up with buying land in Barbados for $5 a square foot, all in Poole and Henley, all in St. Joseph and St. Philip. And this man, Drake Sullivan, is sleeping on the job. Well, Sonia Brown ain't sleeping no more, though. Sonia Brown ain't sleeping no more. And Sonia Brown, because I'm only here for a couple of minutes, and I want to say to you, and I recognize that her constitution, respect to her freedoms, that her constitutional provisions, that the right to association, the right to freedom of expression, all of those freedoms now are under threat, and that there's a climate of fear in this country, and that there's a climate of intimidation, and that you must not open your mouth, and that men in the cabinet and women in the cabinet who know full well that the policy is wrong, they are quite loose. And you know, someone tell me they're given a recitation. And they cannot be a dissenting voice. And that so that the rights of people, this is a serious thing. Now, I see fundamental rights and freedoms in this country. They're slowly and slowly eroding. To get up and express your view. To go on the call-in programs. To give a dissenting voice in the interest of the rule of law and the interest of democracy. And it takes me, and you know, we pass health and safety at work act. We pass the employment rights tribunal. We pass the good health to ensure that we have full productivity for civil servants. We decide that the police officers in this country, they have a very important role to play in terms of upholding the rule of law and law and order. And we constructed a police station at King Garden and one at Hastings. And then they went and put a name on it. You know, when I go up there, my heart, it is boiled, my blood is boiling me because it pains me because when I look at it, when I see the names on it, I ain't see Adriel Brathwaite name on it, I ain't see Francis Throat name on it. And you know, that when I left from here, that you could take up $3 million and build a monument next to Parliament, and that the officers at District C hardly got a chair to sit on. When you got there at night, so you got to fight with the bats to see your clients. No waiting room for attorneys to see their clients. Then you move from there, you go to Black Rock, the same thing. And then you move from there, you go to Oysters, the same thing. And then you go to Old Town, the same thing. But it's not only for the police officers. It's also for suspects who will believe, in fact, they have a right under the Constitution of Barbados to be treated in a humane manner. Maybe we get to that. That's another point too. But let me say this. That I want the Democratic Labour Party. That when it sit down and put it, that we look seriously at a total wholesale amendment of the Police Act, and that we have legislation similar to in England called police officers in police stations and set out conditions for suspects. And also we need to develop that the police officers will be more productive, and indeed that they know thinking about them and caring about them. We get to that too. I hear you talk about shooting, we get to that too. But I can speak to this point now. That Barbados is the only country that we do not have a modern state-of-the-art forensic center. And the reason they say this, because we have this debate in Barbados about backlog, about fast-tracking the criminal justice system and fast-tracking the justice system in this country. And that when exhibits are supposed to come, or that the police worked so hard, Mr. Jones, I'm glad you're here, and that we could be missing, that there might be people in prison up there wrongfully because we don't have a modern state-of-the-art forensic center. Because you know that DNA, scientific evidence, can free people, and it can also cause people, you know what, I am not going to waste the court time. I can get the DNA evidence, it is me, I am wasting the court time, I plead guilty. So we need a modern state-of-the-art forensic center in this country. And they move further. Barbados is the only country that when picked up by the police, modernized country that established a public defender's office, Clark's son, and so that the state can be protected too. And so, that who developed the National Peace Program, now I can tell you straight, I'm the first person that believes that somebody who's low risk, somebody who's high risk, that we can save them. Everybody deserves a second chance. But I have some questions to ask Corey. He's the Attorney General. He is the de facto Attorney General. Although he and the Attorney General, they don't talk. They don't talk. Just like Sonia Brown and the other people don't talk. In fact, it was remiss of me not to express my condolences to Sonia Brown because of her dogs the other day. So I expressed my condolences to her. But a birdie of mine, a police officer, a police went to investigate the matter. $5, sorry, $5. She gone to the dogs. But a little birdie of mine tell me that I read the check. You know the dogs had names. One the name I died. One I got the names in here. Let me pull up here. One the name one start with a G. With a J. And end with a E. I ain't calling it not me. I ain't getting not me and that. Not me and that. I ain't know, but I understand that there's supposed to be some funeral. I ain't not getting involved in that. But I want to say this to you. That the Democratic Labour Party must put itself in a position where we can go to the people with these proposals. And that if he's speaking about law reform, that we must come to them with meaningful proposals too. No, we're talking about TV. They be going to the people, be going in the villages. And we go and say to them, look, this is what the Democratic reform is. This is what the Democratic Labour Party agenda in terms of our land policy should be. And whether we are going to look and reform in a wholesale manner. Difficulties in its present form, because to my mind, and I speaking as a lawyer now, it is so one-sided in favor of the government, and that the landowner rights are not fully protected. And the reason I say that the landowner right is not protected, because many people in Barbados, and I can speak even about the Miss Ram case, that example is an example that we need to seek reform of the Land Acquisition Act to cure the mischief. Because there is a constitutional right that if you acquire my property, that I must be paid compensation in a reasonable time thereafter. And if you acquire it for a public purpose, that the public should benefit from it. And that the public rights should be protected. And so we have to look at the Land Acquisition Act in a way that we must balance the interests of both parties. Yes, we respect the constitutional rights of property owners. And we understand that the government needs to develop its agenda. But in the middle of that, we must understand the constitutional rights should be protected of property owners. That my little learning in my head would be to move the democratic, and in doing these things, we will show that there's a clear divide in relation to the thinking. I don't know. Don't put me in that pelly case. Don't put me in that pelly case. But our president is on the right path. And that the Democratic Labour Party, that everywhere you go, people are asking for the Democratic Labour Party to settle down. And they begging and pleading with members of the Democratic Labour Party to settle down. To let us come together. To let us join hands with one another. Because we have a journey to complete. We have a journey to complete for the underprivileged. We have a journey to complete for the voiceless. We have a journey to complete for the downtrodden. We have a journey to complete for the disadvantaged. And more particularly, those young people out there. Because when they look at their future, it is a very dark future. And we need to come together as a party. We need to meet in the villages, in the districts, all over Barbados. And let us get our army of soldiers together. Let us hit the ground. Let us bring this Democratic Labour Party into the hearts of Barbadians. Because the government is there for the taking. And we must do right. We must do right. And I know that the people are disappointed because in 2018, they were promised that there will be better roads in Barbados, that potholes will be a thing of the past, that the health service would improve, that the transport system would improve, that the education system would improve, that all the social services will be improved, and that all will be so sweet in Barbados, and that you all have nothing to worry about because we have diggers. But lo and behold, that when we were attacked about our transportation policy in Barbados, and that when we decided because of the unavailability of buses that we are going to develop something called the taxi project, and that when the same transport board that we decided, look, you know what? We must look towards the ban of electric buses. We must look at modernizing the transport system, public transport system in Barbados. But you know, that when we look at the service today, that today, because I don't talk from my head, today the bus availability, they have 54 buses. 54 buses to service the whole of Barbados. And we were supposed to be so incompetent. You imagine 54 buses? And you bragging about Barbados. That, oh, this is the best cabinet. Oh, we have the best prime minister. We have the best minister of transport. But why it is that when I was minister, and I decided to develop what we call a taxi project, integrating the private sector into the public transport system, I was criticized. And that the trade union movement, hot and sweaty, came up to the Ministry of Transport Board, Ministry of Transport and Works. And they were questioning me about if I'm privatizing the public transport system. But lo and behold, and I had to say, developing is a pilot system to see how it will work, and thereafter we will fully integrate it based on the results. And Steve will tell you, you know, if I was the Minister of Housing and they wanted to bring in the Chinese housing, you know what the Permanent Secretary tell me? Minister, let us do a pilot project. Let us do a pilot project. But these pilot projects, you know, they're things of the past. But you're going to rake up the taxpayers' money and bring some houses and throw them in 6 Rose Yard. On the grass, rusting out. But they go back to transport. Because I support the integration of the private sector, but it's already there. It's already there already, but not formally. But we decided to create a formal framework to bring them into the system of public transport. But every single policy that they carry out has failed. That owners invested their money in bringing in buses. And when it comes to the payment of money, can't get paid. Can't get paid. But you can have, because what happened, this bag is so big that documents normally fly out the air and drop in this bag. And you know that somehow some documents from the NCC just dropped into my bag. And it seems to me that the Barbados Labour Party, that they like, or they have some affinity with ackee trees and dunks trees and things. But when I took a cursory glance at the document, because I didn't get time to look at it, because it came into my bag, and they zipped back at the bag quickly so that it won't fly back out. So like a good lawyer, I have to examine those documents very carefully. And then, when I searched again, I realized that something like a check also came into my bag. But I will also need time to look at that check. Because I can let you know a secret now. If anybody give you anything that, let me say, I can't say a wedding ring because they don't know anything about wedding rings. Somebody give you a good document, and a real, you got it there as your drawing card. You know you don't want to lose that, so you know what you do. You don't put it in the vault. You put it in the vault too, but you photocopy it about 45 times or 100 times. And you put one on your bed, you put one in your garden, you put one in your fridge, you put one there. So, you know, if you lost it, you can find it. You can want to a friend. And you call Steve and Gita, you hold out for me, boy. I know he's hold things close to his chest. But no, it's not the time for checks. No, it's not the time. No, it's not the time. But I walk with this bag. This bag is like my baby. Hold it very close. Very close. But I memorize the check number in my head too. 00. I leave it there. Within the jurisdiction of so-and-so, the parish of so-and-so, I want to close my case tonight. I can say to you that to the young politicians in the Democratic Labour Party, that when they came in 2003, I had, in fact, before 2003, 2001 and 2002, I had, of course, the support of Sir Wart Franklin, the old veterans, and then, of course, Undine was at St. Philip North, and Cleaton was up there doing a lot of work. That you must not believe or take it for granted that a seat is so easy to win. That is so much hard work. It is so much dedication. And you have to hit the ground. And you have to have a cause to fight for. I believe that I have a cause because I will fight against injustice in this country. I will stand up. If I believe that a man, use the word unfair, but the system. And nobody can stop me. And nobody can come against me with any foolishness. I will respect you. I will respect you. But I believe that you must also give me due respect too. And so that is why I started out by saying that there's some cloud over the rights of ordinary Barbadians in this country. There's a dark cloud. And that it is about friends and family. Have the qualifications and that and merit. And I'm praying for the Democratic Labour Party now. That what our national hero, what he fought against, what he stood up for, the injustice, and the desire to ensure that Barbadians of all walks of life have a say and share in the economic landscape of Barbados. And so as I close my speech, I want to say to Barbadians that you have to safeguard our democracy. And that you have to stand up for our democracy. That you have to fight against the injustices and do not let anybody at all, wherever they come from, derail your rights as a citizen of Barbados. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Good night. Good night to you. I can't dance, I only got one foot.
Brother Lashley, lashes. Oh, he got a check from NCC. But I don't feel that Medic know about the check. Medic's be too busy looking for powder. You ever check Medic? No, Medic's got chin foundation all the time. Perfect. No, it's a fact. So I don't think you know what the check. He be checking the pharmacy fee powder. Anyhow, I don't want to be here. But on a serious note, we have service this morning, a wonderful service. And during that service, our president, we always say he missed his calling, you know the Bible backwards. And that's a good thing in a leader. And as the reverend of that church said, you don't quote the Bible for likes. You quote the Bible because you believe in what the Bible said. Now, you ain't calling nobody name. But he changed his voice. And when he changed his voice, we know exactly. And our president went to Matthew 21, we talk about the money changers. Now, most of us here went to Sunday school, we know that story about the money changers. And I'm saying tonight that what he said was so accurate because we have a host of money changers administering this country. To the point where everything is transactional. You give me something, I give you something. And the governance of this country has come to an all-time low. And when I can hear a young man speak to the money changers and speaking about driving the money changers out of the temple, I say yes. This is what we want because the politics of this country has to change. We cannot when we have the persons that we elect us in this type of transactional politics. It is low-class politics. And we have a young man who you would think will be operating along the lines of we need change, we need freshness, we need honesty in politics. People may feel that it is an old adage and it is outdated, but it is what we want now. And this is the right time for us to have leadership that is looking in a different direction for this country because it is bad. There is nothing you can do in Barbados at a certain level unless you are prepared to engage in transaction. And that is what has destroyed many Caribbean countries. This level of transactional politics and governance. And Barbados needs to clean up. We need to clean it up. And we need to clean it up from the top back down, because the fish rots from the head. And when we recognize that, we have to move towards working for change. And we can only work for change with sincere leadership with clean hands, pure hearts, and a sincere desire to leave Barbados better than you found it. And that should be the mantra of every single politician seeking to represent Barbadians through the Democratic Labour Party. You have to want to leave this country better than you found it. And once we stick to that mantra, there is no way that any rational Barbadian can say no. And that charge will be led by Ronnie Yearwood. I tell you so tonight. It will be led by this young man who has, as I said, clean hands, a pure heart, and a desire to see his child grow up in a Barbados that is better than he found it. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce to you Dr. Ronnie Yearwood.
Good night, Democratic Labour Party family. How are you doing? So wonderful to see so many of you tonight. It has been so wonderful to see you at all the events that we've had over the last 3 days. Thank you. And I want to start really by thanking Adriel. I want to thank Richard, I want to thank Rasheed, I want to thank Tyra, I want to thank Michael for their support and for their love of country and their love of party. I cannot do this alone, I do not dare to do it alone, and the Democratic Labour Party is building the team for the times, it is building the team that can ensure the legacy and the memory of Errol Barrow, Cameron Tudor, and all the others, C.P. Smith, Sybil Leacock, Maisie Barker-Welch, all of these people, Gertrude Eastman, who have worked and toiled to build this party, and this country is protected. This party has always stood for the side of justice, has always stood on the side of the people who desire a better life for themselves and for their children. The reality is that Barbados is facing a difficult, difficult time. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I will not lie to you. I will not tell you untruths. I know these days it is fashionable not to use the word politics because it is such a dirty word. It is being made a dirty word. It is unfortunate that people see politics that way. It is unfortunate that we think of politicians as the worst of the worst. It is unfortunate that that is the kind of country that we now live in, where corruption and transactional politics is high, where people of this country struggle to exist. And a person in the old days called themselves a politician. That was a noble thing. You were thought to be going in to do something good, to uplift your people, to uplift your country. These days, when people call themselves a politician, we think of them as the scum of the earth and those who crawl in the gutter. And this has been brought low, let us be real, this has been brought low in part by this particular Barbados Labour Party government under the leadership of this particular Prime Minister, Mayor Motley. That is the reality that we face in this country. I know sometimes people think we should not talk about the Prime Minister. We should whisper her name in corridors. No, no, no. We have to talk about the leadership or the lack of leadership that has brought this country to a new low. That is just the reality of where Barbados is. You are not struggling. You are not facing hardship. You are not going through hard times. Your roads are not being paved. You're not paying $400 million in fuel tax, but still can't get roads. You're not waiting 5 the QEH corridor before you see the doctor. You're not having access to justice because we have a good government. We have a bad government. That is just the reality of where we are, and we probably have the worst government in the history of governments of this entire country. And it is time that we recognize that. It is time that we say that. It is time that we understand that this particular government, this particular set of ministers cannot run this country. They cannot lead Barbados, and they are the worst of the worst. I can't use them kind of words. I will leave that to you. There is some confusion and scandal with housing and steel. Every single time they're falling through the floor. What we require in Barbados, we require new we complain, and we don't come with the answers. So I gave you an answer tonight. One, understand that they're here to serve Barbadians, who understand that good for the people of this country. You are not here to take the treasury and the courts of law and the people of Barbados, because you will not walk free. You will not tolerate corruption, thievery, scandal of any kind. I am serious, because we have to change things today, and perhaps the best way we can honor him tonight is to speak the truth in the way that John. This is our last chance to make Barbados right. And I am not sure, if we do not do it this cycle, if we will ever be able to break the cycle of corruption and thievery and family and friends and favoritism that is holding this country back. I am not sure we will be able to break the classism and the colorism that is holding this country back. I am sure we'll be able to break the titleism and the fact that you come from the heights and the somebody come from a pool that you feel you better than them, because you are not. Tell all y'all something tonight. The Barbados that we in the Democratic Labour Party will build will be a continuation of the equity and the justice that our bars of ignorance. It is to uplift you, and it's to educate you, and it's to make your life better. And I expect anyone that joins my team will make that same commitment. And if you cannot make that commitment, go and join the other side, because all them out there want is transactions and money. And we are here to build the table from which they can come to feast. We are not here to build the chair. We will learn to build a chair. Because every single person, boy, girl, man, woman in this country must have success. They must have a chance to make their lives better, to make their lives whole and be somebody, be something. And that something or that somebody should never be attached to your family name. It is not about where you come from. It is about where you're going and what you can offer to this country. I will apologize if a voice fall, because I've been having a little roughness of my voice over the last week or so. So if it drop in and drop out, please forgive me. And we can make the change that we need to make. It's possible. And we have to. We have to make the change for our children. We have to make the change for the future. Somebody has to decide, I am the growing up in this room. I will not tolerate the thievery. Because when you thief, the here can't get due. And the back road that is going to come up Horse Hill, it can't get due. And the school next door going to get shut down because you didn't do the school inspections. And somebody going to fall through a crack because you ain't spending the money or you gave it to somebody else. Or you're going to in Bathsheba for who? By giving somebody the contract that they sit on the same sports center board. Really? That's how we do things in Barbados now? And you parading about, flying about on every single plane that conference, every single speaking engagement, and you going about, oh, I'm the Prime Minister. Yes, climate change is important, but I want my road fixed though. I don't want the mole in my school, and I don't want to wait 5 days in QH for that. Those are the realities. Focus on the priorities that are for the people of Barbados, and that is what a Democratic Labour Party government will do. Back to basics. We will fix your roads. We will make sure your schools are clean. We will give your children the opportunities to learn. We will fix the QH. We will ensure clinics have resources. Nurses and doctors shouldn't got to buy toilet paper in clinics and go and buy their own plaster. Or when you go the blood pressure machine ain't working. Basic things, but you parading about the place. We can do better in this country, but we can only do better when we accept that we're going to have to be different. Explain what I mean. They're going to call you all sorts of names. They're going to call one of yard fouls. They're going to call one of every kind of thing. They're going to curse one on social media. They're going to curse one in the face. When you go into the houses, shake it off and go to the next one. And go on a mission to change this country. We are on a mission to transform Barbados into the great country that it can be, and that your role in this. You have to accept that you have to be called to serve the people of this country. Not just the leadership, Steve, myself, Michael, but the members of this party. You are part of the mission of this party. You are part of this to transform Barbados. We cannot do this without you. We need you. Your country needs you. And I cannot guarantee you any gold or any trophies at the end of the road. I cannot. And I will not pretend to tell you any gold trophies or big rewards. The rewards will be that you will live in a country that is safe, prosperous, and good for you. That is the reward. That is what we can guarantee. And you know, some of us, and the priest said this morning, I want to echo it here. Some of us are content. Some people can get on the bus, they can say, man, this bus like going somewhere. But they're not committed to the destination. But we need commitment. We need you to be part of the DLP. We need you to be part of the revival, not only of the Democratic Labour Party, but the revival of Barbados. Because your country needs you now more than ever. $14.4 billion in debt is not $14 in debt. The IADB says Barbados has the highest debt in the Caribbean. The highest debt and one of the highest debt to GDP ratios in the world. Think about that. 260,000, 14.4 billion in debt. And the other day, another $100 million to build a boardwalk along the South Coast that nobody ain't want. Why you would take $100 million to build a boardwalk? Who getting the contracts to build the boardwalk? That's $100 million that could be used for something else. Fishermen can't get fish from the sea, but you put it on a boardwalk? How about helping to rejuvenate the reefs, though? How about helping them to get the fishing stock up? But you going to tell us, as a prime minister, that you care about the people of Barbados? That you understand the needs of the people of Barbados? Rubbish. You do not understand anything about the people of Barbados. I am here to say the Barbados Labour Party is not only the worst government that we've had, they're the most uncaring government that we have ever had in this country. And it's not. And this is facts, you know. And, you know, look, let me talk to y'all real. So, $400 million in fuel duties, right? Because the government said we abolishing road tax. Fine. We abolish road tax. You collect $4 from people. Where the money gone? Because look at the state of the roads. And then you come back and tell us that you're going to pump another big set in paving project to patch a few, but the roads are still the same because you're not coming up with long-term sustainable road maintenance solutions. And who going to get the contracts for the little million in paving? Oh, this is your money. And sometimes I wonder, why aren't Barbadians angry? Why are you upset? Why are you sitting down taking this? You and somebody on company TV and tell you not to worry about it. You have a minister in the Prime Minister's office in the form of Dr. Chantal Monroe Knight, who going to tell you that they're opening a call center complaints about the government. But the call center will not replace existing call centers. Well, I don't understand that making sense. I'm telling me it will cost $10,000 to run a call center for 50 or 60 people. Will you pay them people then per month? And then on top of that, said that you're bringing an international contractor to help set up this call center. Because we got to be foolish to think that it costs $10,000. Electricity, water, tea, snacks, coffee, security, lights. How are you going to run a call center for $10,000? And what got me is that the paper published a headline, call center gonna call, like, nobody ain't really sit there and think about that. There was nobody, when the minister said this, but like, well, you got to be talking foolishness though. But that don't make no sense. And then I try to argue that the call center improves government productivity. How does a call center improve government productivity? Because the call center, you want to know the real reason? Because the government does not want anybody calling to brass stats to embarrass them, because they don't want to hear, David, my water off. David, nobody come out here and see minister for 10 days. David, water, look. That is all the call center is to do. To destroy the public off from each other. Because when you call up a, I don't know that Shelley complaining about the road done by she and that I got a similar problem because she called David. How we gonna know? Nobody ain't gonna know what going. And Michael was right. Affects the democracy of this country. Call Walter and call Christina and call Brass. That's a matter of life miserable every day because They don't do nothing unless somebody shame them. They went fix the road on the South Coast because some influencer had to shame them in road where they live because I was shaming them for a long time. So I don't know if anybody tonight got any roads that want fixing. Let me call them out here because let me know, give me a list, and I can go put a platform and I can talk about it. The road ain't coming around. I hear the ones in St. Thomas. One in Westers, Violet Circle, I hear it. Anybody else? St. Andrew, Lodge Road. The whole, somebody said the whole of Barbados. Oh Lord, don't talk about road. Feel like you're gonna vomit. Now let me tell you, that is something else. It's something that the people and you're going to invest money a center to shut down the Barbadian voice. When the Barbadian voice should be given space. Give your voice space to allow you to be able to get your views out there. Them to explain who get the who train the people for the call center and who get any money. And this goes back to a commitment that I have made. When the Democratic Labour Party assumes office, we will publish a list of everybody who receives government's money because it is taxpayers' money, and you must know who foolishness because it already happens in Bahamas. We are behind. We will ensure that not only is there freedom of legislation, freedom of information, but we will give you the information. You don't got to break down the door and write the letters. We will publish all the information to ensure $18 million in the Prime Minister's office, which was up by another $4 million from the $14 million in the previous budget for a Prime Minister's office in this country. Where is that $18 million going? You spending $18 million on? But you're going to shut down St. John's School? You're going to shut down St. John's School, but you're going to spend $18 million? And then you're going to open up a citizens contact center who's the homeless in Barbados? Dion. That's the question, you know. Where is all this money? Where is that $14.4 billion in debt? The $100 million they just borrowed, the $50 million before, the other $100 million, the other $50 million. The Prime Minister has a problem with money. No, I'm serious, you know. Because there's no way that you could be behaving like that. And there is no way that you could claim that you care about the people of Barbados and you are doing this. Because you ain't doing it to yourself. Because come tomorrow, I bet you bottom dollar, if the Prime Minister out of office, she can be all right. She can be very much all right. But it's the people in St. John that ain't gonna be all right. Because they're left with the unfinished project and the housing project. They're left with the unfinished roads. The St. John's School can still be closed. It's the people in this country that will not be okay. I ain't worried about 1930 in Parliament. They're filling them belly. They're filling them bellies and them bags. But as I said in St. Andrew, you can only live in one house, you can only wear one pair of shoes, and you can only wear one suit. I don't understand it. maybe I'm from a different place, because I don't understand the need for the greed. It makes no sense when you are being put to serve the people of Barbados. For the first time in the history of this country, you will probably have politicians in this current cycle leaving government office with more than they came in. When people like Barrow left with less than they came in. Because they were about service. When you focus on the job, you don't got the time to be thieving nothing. You don't got the time to be worrying about a contract because you want a little side piece. Because you are there of Barbados. That is just what you're there to do. And let us understand that this government, that is just the reality. You know, Michael talked about the housing project. They're knocking on the door and getting told what they're afraid of listening to the calling program and getting licks. I know it's getting licks. But listen, you go in the supermarket and you buy chicken, a big one if you want. Everything expensive. Everything expensive. Then you have Abrams trying to convince us in the paper today all the government vehicles at this particular juncture when people in Barbados literally people can't pay the rent, and you are taking money to replace the vehicles for the Prime Minister and all the ministers because you're talking about you buy electric vehicles. Because that is your priority for the people of Barbados. That is your priority for the people of Barbados. When people here are barely surviving, you are taking government money to buy new vehicles to drive boat pine. And as my sister said, the mammogram machine at the hospital, at the QH, ain't functioning. So you are spending money to put, I'm going to use the bad words, to put you, whatever, on a soft cushion to drive boat, while women in Barbados are at risk of breast cancer because your priorities are not to take that money to invest in machines at the QH. And I want you all to think about these things and make this connection about this government. Because something must be wrong with them. That's all it comes down to. Something is fundamentally broken in the people that lead this country at the moment. Look, I want to end. And government is deceitful, it is wrong, and do the things that you're doing when you have the debt levels that you have raised, when you treat as continuous problems with mold, and it is not corrected, and you say that you care about the people of Barbados. Now, let me start with 10. 10 righteous, 10. Give me 10. Let me start with 10. 10 righteous men, women, and we can save this country. Because there's a need to. If we do not draw that line, if we do not stand up and say, today is that new day, today is that day when we will be different, and it is okay to be different. It is okay not to be corrupt. I know it sounds weird. It is okay to come into politics and actually, in your heart, just want to do good things for people. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way it should be. It is okay to want to serve your country and do it well and go sleep at night, you're home with your wife and not 10 other women. That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. You ain't a soft man because you got your wife. You're a real man. It's okay to have a marriage and hold it together and fight for to raise your children right and decent and expect them to walk in the way and the light. That is okay. It is okay to visit your mother on Sunday and call she and tell she you love. That is okay. Neighbor, that is okay. It is okay for your friends and your family. When did these things become problematic? When did we become a harsh, ill-tempered society? You're going someplace and you brush somebody. Will you touch me for? It is okay to want good for this country. You know what real man is do? You just feed your family. You just protect them. Men are about. And that is what we require in politics. Real men and real women. Not pretenders. We don't want the pretenders, but if you want me faking it and flamming it, do not come. Fake and flam somewhere else. Because it is okay to be serious. What the hell is wrong with being to satisfy who? Why should you debase yourself and bring everyone along with you? That is okay. It is a time when we used to have statues. When did having values become? When doing the right thing when did it become problematic to stand up for the good? When did it become problematic? Good society, I want my people to walk in the light. When was that a problem? When good men and women cower. We do not have to cower because there are more of us than there are of them. Trust me, there are more things. Put on your shoes and follow the Democratic Labour Party. This new party that we are building. A legacy of traditions that exists. Coming built for nothing. And that is okay. When did it become problematic to want to do something right? Man, Ronnie, you so righteous, you know it don't work so. Well, you know what? It does work so. And if you got a problem with it working so, well, you go and do something else. Because I will not change and I will not debase myself. You will rise. I am a problem rising up and walking righteously, then do not come into politics around Ronnie Yearwood. Find something else to do. And that something else to do may lead you to Glendale. But it ain't happening under my watch. Because when I die and my maker, I want him to say, well done. And that has to be for me. And I want it for everybody in my team. Because I want you to be good. To do well. And that should be okay. Every to compromise, cut here, cut there. You know you got to do this, you got to do. Left with soulless and empty, just like the current government and the current Prime Minister. And if we do things the same way, we will end up We will be different in the Democratic Labour Party, and that is okay.
No.
Want to tell you, really, I think tonight is the rebirth of the Democratic Labour Party. I think what we saw tonight was that blend of old, that blend of new, that blend of experience, that blend of youthful exuberance. If we can replicate and do what we did tonight over and over and over again, we are back. The Democratic Labour Party is on its way. Join this train. It is okay to be a member of the Democratic Labour Party. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gone.
Ladies and gentlemen, as you know, 11 o'clock is the witching hour. We had a very good evening. We had a very good weekend of celebrations. And I thank Ronnie for delivering the message that we need to go forward. Clean hands, pure heart, and a commitment to this country. Next stop, because we're carrying this message with us. Thank you once again.